Hey guys, welcome to the Wild Bits Show. I'm Upamanyu,
And I'm Meghna.
and we have got a great show planned for you. We are discussing very crucial topic today, which is also our headline topic, which is uh, about the Earth's black box, which has been installed in a remote Tasmanian airfield. We will see what that all is about. Um, you guys must have seen news about El Nino and its effects and how climate change is impacting the intensity of El Nino this time around. We will discuss about that. We have a story about that. And there's a story about bees. Again, we only mostly think about megafauna, so bees and insects can often be missed. So there's a story about bees from Peru. And what else do we have, Meghna?
We have actually, this was the other topic we were thinking if we should make this the headline topic or the black box. So, as you know, the human Ebola cases are climbing in DRC, which means that the endangered gorillas are also at risk. We'll be talking about that, and we'll also be talking about. Oh, wait, my. Okay, I'm sorry. There's some problem with my laptop, so I can't properly. Uh, 1 minute. Yeah. And we'll also be talking about how a South African village has learned to live with baboons, so proper coexistence. But is it the exception or is it something followed across the world? And we will also be talking about how AI is being used to detect marine wildlife smuggling. So, does it think like how the traffickers are thinking? Is it effective? And we have a ton of other small topics that we're going to be covering.
Cool. Let's see what this topic's about. Again, we have gone through it only, a very little detail so far. Um, and this is a news report from The Guardian, which essentially says um, apocalypse when? It's a question for us. Earth's black box to be installed in remote Tasmanian island. A monumental Earth's black box is set to be installed near Queenstown, Tasmania in December. This 16-meter long, 4-meter high steel structure is designed to record humanity's trajectory towards climate catastrophe, acting as a testament to our actions or inactions. The project, initially announced 5 years ago, faced development delays, but is now nearing completion with parts assembly underway. Topped with solar panels encased in glass, the box will continuously collect and store hundreds of datasets and measurements related to the planet's health. The creators emphasize the box's purpose is to document our fate, but the ending is ultimately determined by human choices. For our viewers, I'll just share my screen just to show how this box is, um, you know, looking like. Um, and yeah, so it's a huge, big black box. It's a concrete structure, kind of, and yeah, it's planned to be installed in the remote island of Tasmania. Now, the thing is, such a thing has been thought about, or such a thing needs to be installed says a lot about, the state we are in and the state we will be in, because yeah, um, this basically means that um, you know our end, or the planet as we know it, yeah, might be coming to an end. So that's why, like, this black box is being installed, and such a project is even planned now. For people who cannot make the connection, a black box is generally installed in an aeroplane. That's how the name black box has gained popularity, I think. It's generally installed in an aeroplane, where in an event of a crash, it um, records the records all the details of that particular crash. Um, so yeah, so that means that the thinking is, and why this needs to be installed, is, you know everyone will know that this is because our Earth might face that similar fate in the near future. So I'll just show the screen right now. Last time I tried to do that, there was some technical difficulties there. Yeah, so this is sort of the black box that we are looking at, and this is obviously an artist's impression, but um, it is designed to survive any kind of apocalypse. Although obviously it's a man-made thing, so we won't be able to tell for sure. And then there's the location, which is, if you can see, on this screen, it shows a map of Australia, and there's this tiny island of Tasmania, which is quite near the South Pole, and that's why I think this it's near enough to the land mass, the main land mass, for it to be serviced, and if it needs any kind of repairs or anything like that. But it's far enough away from the main hubbub of um, sort of the main human centers, so it can record the data very efficiently. So you will know that certain of the measurements that we take, the purest weather measurements that we are able to take as humanity, um, lives in um, it actually lives in Antarctica. That is where all the you know precise measurements are taken of our climate and of our Earth. So it makes sense to be placed in Tasmania, which is very close, uh, comparatively quite close to the South Pole. the this to me again adds to our responsibility of making sure that the our Earth does not have to go in that direction. But again, being optimistic is seems like a luxury in today's times. Being optimistic is seems like a luxury, just because um, all that is happening in our planet. So this again is the artist representation, and this is the project Earth's Black Box. It's the URL is at earthsblackbox.com. That's the URL, and yeah, these of course are artist representations, but again, the same image. Um, and yeah, so that is what this article is all about. This post, again, we hope that this does not come to head, and we don't have to don't have the need to make bring this into effect. But from the looks of it, it at least it's recording all those details if such an apocalypse does come. There's also this this talk about an ice age that is going to hit first the Europe and then the world. Um, there's there's a talk about that, and which is basically something to do with, I think there is a spot in somewhere that that is not cooling, sorry, not warming up, and it's actually cooling down. There's a spot, I think in the Pacific, that is cooling down, actually, and which leads scientists to believe that it could be a start of that ice age that once was sort of the norm, um, in our planet, and it was um, like human beings actually lived through one ice age. Like human beings were around when the last ice age was at its tail end. So we, as a species, have had like collective experience living through an ice age. But with all our modern technologies and all our modern things, not sure whether they will be able to survive um, the ice age, the another ice age. So I think that's sort of where I will end this topic. Again, as you would have realized, Meghna is facing some technical difficulties, so I will continue solo till the time she is able to resolve the difficulties. So for the next topic, let's go into a smaller topic. Let me just drift through. Um, yeah, this again is a topic, is a report from the National Geographic, and we love reports from National Geographic, especially me. Um, here, so what this particular report is about pit viper. So this is from National Geographic, and it says, "Can this famously gorgeous pit viper save the cloud forests of Honduras?" The jade palm pit viper, a stunning and elusive snake found in Honduras's cloud forest, have become symbol for conservation efforts. Herpetologists like Tasman Ezra are dedicated to studying this poorly understood species, known for its vibrant green scales and unique markings. The viper's allure draws enthusiasts, affectionately called herpers, who contribute to its protection by raising awareness. This fascination is crucial as the snake's habitat was once threatened by deforestation for coffee plantations. The ongoing efforts highlight the importance of protecting these fragile ecosystems and their unique inhabitants, with the jade palm pit viper serving as a potent emblem for this vital conservation mission. And I have to show you the title image that's there in this particular article. Look at that! What a beautiful image! What a beautiful snake! The one could have forgiven for mistaking this as AI generated, or you know something from the movies, a CGI image. But this is a real snake. And um, this particular snake is stands as a success story. Again, there are, I think, a few more images here. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. This is sort of the cloud forest, in the cloud forest background. Um, and of course, this uh, snake faces the fate of every other species in the world, which is a shrinking territory. And you know, it's a tiny portion of the entire, mm, you know, Honduran landmass. But again, there are people there that, like Honduherp, the foundation, which is working towards saving this beautiful snake. What a beautiful snake!
I
Meghna, are you
think,
back?
yeah. I think, oops. But the problem with snakes is obviously there are sometimes snakes get really famous, like Gary the snake from Zootopia too. But in general, people are really scared of snakes. Like they
Hmm.
can't even look at pictures. Like even my
Yeah.
parents, I show them pictures of like really cute snakes, and they're like, "Oh my god, don't show me snake pictures." And most
Hmm.
people are like that. Like they just have this ick towards snakes, and I think that's biologically kind of ingrained in us. There are experiments that have shown that even like gorillas and monkeys that have never been exposed to anything in the wild, if you show them like a snake like structure, anything that looks like a snake, they're automatically scared of them. So it's
Hmm.
in our, yeah, it's in
It's
our
a
kind of
it's
DNA.
a
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, so we're scared of snakes because we kind of, even when we were hunter gatherers or even when we were monkeys, we were always scared of it because we always thought of it as a predator. It's interesting though, because obviously tigers and lions are also pet predators for us, or have always been predators for us, but we don't feel that way towards them. But towards snakes, maybe how they look, I'm not really sure, because I
No,
mean
I
even
think
on.
snakes, it's as you said, it's a very natural response. It's a very, it's a self-preservation kind of response. And tigers and lions, oftentimes they are very visible, but snakes are not very visible. Like it can hide in the undergrowth, or like it can strike you from anywhere, and then it's much less visible. Let's put it that way. It's much less visible um, than a
Also,
tiger
I
or a lion.
also there's a lot of negative connotation when they say, oh, you're such a snake. Like, they use snakes as a negative thing, that like you're cunning, or
Yeah, like hides
you
in
have.
the shadows. You are attacking. That is what our ancestors would have gathered from such a creature, which sort of hides and attacks. Although it's not intentional that they do that,
Yeah,
or they are
exactly.
not thinking like that, but that is what our ancestors would have gathered from the anthropomorphized attitude of such a creature. Mm.
So I think, I mean, going by our genetic makeup and the negative connotation, it would actually be amazing if a snake can be the reason that these cloud forests can be saved, because
Mm.
that means that people would have to actually bond together like snakes and then want to save the forest for this particular snake.
There is something very menacing if you look at this video as well. Like it's a beautiful snake, no doubt, but there is something menacing about the eyes, and I think it's ingrained in us in such a way. Like all the dragons and all the stories that we have about dragons and slaying dragons and all that thing. It's all about, like, the face very much looks like a snake, a serpentine sort of face, the eyes, and things like that. Although
But
this snake particularly, if I was surprised, I didn't realize that. But if I went as I went down the article, this snake is actually tiny. So look at that, how tiny this snake is. But again, very poisonous, and able to cause some serious bodily harm, even death. Um, so yeah, but the snake is tiny actually. Yeah.
But tell me this, aren't snakes, I mean, okay, so when we see a snake, we are scared of that. But when we see a turtle or a tortoise, which literally has a snake head as its head, we are
Hmm.
not. That's scared of it just because
I
of
mean,
the tongue.
turtles could never
Is it
hurt
because the
us.
tongue? Yeah, but I mean they could. There are snapping alligator turtles or whatever they call. Like they
Like,
can
they
bite
can't
into
kill
you.
us.
No, they can't. But is it the tongue then? Is it the tongue that puts us off? Because the head is literally quite
No,
similar
I don't
if
think.
you see.
I don't think if I this head looks menacing. If I look at a turtle head, it does not look menacing to me. So,
No, I think it's
um,
very similar. It's just the maybe
it
the
it can
eyes
be.
and
Two
yeah,
things
the
can be
eyes and the
similar, and one thing can be scary, and the other thing can't be. Like, but this is the
okay.
right the examples in front of us.
But it is literally social conditioning thing that we are made to be scared of something.
No, I mean, look, I believe if something is ingrained in us for more than 1,000 years, that cannot be social conditioning. There must be some survival benefit
No,
to
no,
it.
survival benefits, yes, but also social conditioning because of the negative connotation that snakes have. That have all come with the social conditioning part, right? Like how we teach our children or how we tell
No,
each other that, oh, you're such a snake, you know? So we do use snakes as negative. Other things apart, like apart from the genetic makeup and apart from us having to be scared of snakes because that's how we're programmed, but snakes don't get their fair share of. Um, what do you say, empathy, if I may
uh,
put it.
yeah, I think there's a lot of risk with putting any kind of or lending any kind of empathy to to a snake, um towards a snake, I think, in terms of the survival. And I think also, like, we think of these social conditionings, and like, it's a duty to protect this a species that can harm us. This kind of a thinking has only been around for the last 50 or so years, but the fear and the aversion towards snakes has been there for more than, let's say, 100,000 years, since the day the humans evolved in the African savannah. So 1 lakh years almost. So I don't think 50 years of advocacy can undo 1 lakh years of, you know biological imprint. It's very difficult.
True. I think we'll keep you guys updated on what it's going to be, if the Honduras forests are going to be saved by the promotion of the snake or not. But
Hmm.
hopefully, like Carry the snake can become a big national emblem. But moving on to the next story, and I'm
Hmm.
sorry I wasn't there. I think I should have just listened to Oops when he told me to restart my laptop. But yeah, um, as uh, okay. As human Ebola cases climb in DRC, critically endangered gorillas are at risk. A new Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, announced mid May, is raising significant concerns for vulnerable gorilla populations. Previous outbreaks have devastated western lowland gorillas, though no gorilla infections have been reported yet in this current wave. Human cases are climbing, with 676 cases confirmed and 136 deaths in eastern DRC as of June 10th, and 19 cases in neighboring Uganda. The World Health Organization declared it a public health emergency. The Bundibugyo virus, for which there is no approved treatment or vaccine, is the cause. Armed conflict in the DRC significantly hampers both guerrilla conservation efforts and the public health response, further exacerbated by past US funding cuts. Virologists and primatologists are closely monitoring the highly contagious virus, which is deadly to gorillas and other non human primates. So we have
Hmm.
been talking about this Ebola outbreak. Also been talking about how this new virus does not have any vaccine. So this is the Bundibugyo virus, which is a separate or a different version of the Ebola that had come up earlier. And this virus acts similar in humans and in primates. Which is why this is going to be deadly to the gorillas. And we know that Congo and Uganda are actually the two places that you have gorillas that you can go and actually see in the wild. They're the two hotspots for the gorillas to exist. So it would be really sad if this actually passed on to the gorillas, because it would be even harder to monitor them and try to rescue them and make sure that it doesn't pass through them.
So this, we are thinking like this virus is actually like transmittable to primates as well. That I think that is what I'm getting from the article.
Yeah, I think last time actually it did transfer.
Mm.
So the previous outbreaks have devastated the western lowland gorillas. So last time it did pass on to the lowland gorillas and it did devastate them. It did cause a lot of deaths. So which is why they're on the edge at this moment because they're not sure how this outbreak would affect them. The
Mm.
thing is that obviously I think this has to be in close contact or this virus cannot pass without human interaction, so they're probably trying to limit the human interaction so that there are no carriers that can get to the gorillas.
That is very important, I think, because in the article also it says like the 2002-2004 Ebola virus killed about 5,000 western lowland gorillas, which is which is a lot, which is
Yeah.
a lot of gorillas.
And the thing is, like, gorillas are social animals just like us. So they do tend to go and socialize a lot. So, which means that the disease would spread. And this is a
Mm.
communicable disease. So it would spread instantly. And, the infants would be really, really affected. So would the females who are probably at a risk because they've just had given birth or they're pregnant or something, so which would cause the bigger problem because that would wipe out the babies, the next generation, and it would wipe out the females again, the ones that would bring along the next generation.
Mm. Um, Again, I think um, this would require a lot of funding because there is I think humans are in very close contact with these gorillas, administering certain vaccines or certain research projects and things like that. So I think, as you said, like those and also anti-poaching efforts, definitely. So those things need to be closely limited or closely monitored. Um, but other than that, I think there's very little we'll be able to do. Does the virus only spread like through air transmission or like bodily contact, or is it also maybe some, I
It
don't
does
know.
say it does say you have to be in close contact because that is what they've told here that it is one, it's obviously zoonotic, so which means that it is capable of jumping between livestock, wildlife, and humans, and
Mm,
it is transmitted through direct contact with infected blood or body fluids, and by
right.
eating infected animals as well, which means bush meat. So you have to have direct contact for this. So it's not through the air, but it
Okay.
is via infected blood or body fluids. But it could be as similar as touching any gorilla anywhere
Mm.
with yeah. So or if you sneeze close to a gorilla or something like that. So I think the thing they have to do is probably all those um what would you say,
PPE.
those tours that you have where they show the gorillas, maybe stop them for a while because the locals are guides there and you do not know if the virus is affecting people who are coming in. If there could be kind of a lockdown for the gorillas, like no interaction, then that might help the gorillas not be affected because it does need direct contact. And as for the humans, there has to be a different way of containing it because there is no known antivirus at the moment or no vaccine at the moment.
Right. I think that would be and if such a visit needs to be made, then wearing PPE, some kind of protective gear would be the best. Um, cool.
Yeah. What do we have next?
Um, cool. Next thing we would be talking about is the El Nino um, crisis that is sort of upon us at this time. So this is a report from the Times of India. So El Nino is here, and scientists fear it'll be big, bad, and costly with heat, floods, droughts, and fires. El Nino, a natural warming cycle, has officially formed in the Pacific Ocean and is now expected to grow to historic strength, potentially rivaling the 1997 record. Meteorologists warn it will further heat a globe already warming from fossil fuels, likely turbocharging extreme weather globally. Heat waves, floods, droughts, tornadoes, and wildfires, all these things will go to the turbocharged extreme limits. NOAA confirmed El Nino's existence, forecasting a 63% chance of it ranking among the largest events since 1950. Experts emphasize it brings extra surface heat, fueling these extreme events. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called it an urgent climate warning that pours fuel on fire of a warming world. Impacts vary regionally, damping Atlantic hurricanes while increasing Pacific ones, potentially benefiting some drought stricken regions but increasing danger elsewhere. So, yeah, this is a natural event that occurs every, you know, few years. And last one recorded was in 1997, and looks like the next one is forming.
Yeah, and with the cycles, there are two cycles. So there's the El Nino and there's the La Nina. So the La Nina
Hmm.
is a cooling cycle, and the El Nino is a heating cycle. And these cycles are important to kind of what do you say, regulate the Earth's temperature, similar to how you would regulate your laptop's temperature. If it's heating, then you cool it down, and then it heats again. So it's similar to how it would work. Maybe not the greatest example, but what used to happen earlier were these cycles used to happen over a decade or over like a lot of decades, and it used to happen very slowly and very subtly. And then that cycle used to follow, which is why the Earth would be in sync. But now, because of climate change and global warming, these cycles are getting stronger, these cycles are getting shorter, which means that almost every year or every other year you have the El Nino or the La Nina, and in different places than where they were supposed to happen. So this is causing a whole catastrophe across the world. And if this isn't your wake up call that yes, global warming and climate change is real, I don't know what would.
Yeah, we did we did a story this episode about the black box, and that means that we scientists are thinking that we are going towards unreversible end or unreversible point in our Earth's history. And yeah, this again is another one of those indicators that we must take action. But the thing is, the we uh, I don't know if this is also enough. Like, because we find these problems, solutions to these very private solutions to these problems, which is like install an air condition, and the countries or the economies that can make the most significant difference are indifferent, because we they have all the money in the world to temporarily subdue the impacts of these kind of heating, drought, or anything like that. Like, we did a story on Bangladesh and water shortage as well, but yeah, I think it's uh, the people with the money to actually make a difference, because the climate change is happening, and the reversing it will take a lot of investment in alternative energies and things like that. People with that money, they are just, you know
Tell
install more
me,
air conditioners or something like that. I don't know.
tell me this. I mean, I was actually seeing someone's story yesterday. There are ACs now in Paris and they're on because they're feeling too hot. It's
Hmm?
35 degrees in France, and people are either cooling it off with fans or going into the rivers. But there are also ACs installed in certain places and they have them on, which means that the heat is really going to places and things are changing, which means that if more places are heating and they're going to use more things like ACs and other things, that is going to cause further heating, and it's just going to be a big cycle, and it's right in your face. Like, I mean, climate change is very much in everyone's face. Even things like in India, in the Himalayas, April to June is supposed to be a time where you have warm weathers, no rain, and this is supposed to aid the melting of the glaciers and different kind of things that are cyclical. But this year, there's been so much western disturbance that it's rained throughout and throughout, and we've actually seen fresh snowfall up in the mountains a lot of times, which is not natural, which is not great for the crops, which is not great for other things. So climate change is very real. You can see the patterns changing, you can see the weather changing, you can see everything changing. But like how Opsa said, I honestly, Oops, even if these countries with the money put in the money, do you think we are still at the point of return? Like, I feel like we've gone past the point of no return. Like, even if we do a lot of things, it would be like a band-aid repair kind of thing. Like, we can kind of stop the hole from spilling out, but we can't fix the hole.
No, I think I again, not to spread the pessimism, but I think, yeah, we have reached that point, and what climate thinkers like David Attenborough and you know Salim Ali had predicted decades earlier is sort of coming to that culmination. I feel that is the case. Like, we have reached a point where there is, and especially like in countries which experience severe heat without these warming effects, like our country, India, like some countries in the tropical belt. Um, those things. There has been unprecedented meltdowns in Antarctica and the North Pole as well. So, and we are feeling this urgent need of installing a black box of humanity. So I think all things point towards a very dark catastrophe. But the 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 dilemma, or the I not the dilemma, but the dichotomy in my mind is, whatever we do, we talk about, like, we try to talk about it and spread the awareness, but as a human kind, as the mankind, whatever we do, I don't think it seems to be enough. Like, is it making a difference? I
The
don't think
problem
so.
the problem is because, one, obviously these efforts are very scattered. Second, just like other things that we've spoken about, um, like, unless it's COVID level where it's affecting everyone across the world, and it is really bad that, even if one person comes into contact, it's killing everyone, we're not going to do big effects. Like, not going to make big changes.
Meghna, you
But
you give the example of COVID, but even in COVID, we did not do much. Like, there was some expedited development of a vaccine, but even then the vaccine makers wouldn't give away that vaccine. They are charging like billions of dollars and extra money for that
no.
vaccine, and they're
I'm not talking about the vaccine, but I'm talking about how we changed.
what did we change? We did some lockdowns for like 6 months or
Exactly.
something like
Yeah,
that.
but we did change our way of traveling. We did change our way of consumption. We did change a lot of things. There were different ways you could go and get your groceries. You were doing lesser runs on the road. Like, you were out on the road lesser. You could not be in the air. You were not traveling. A lot of what do you say, factors that were causing a lot of pollution had reduced because we were not really moving anywhere, and that did cause like a lot of losses to a few industries. But in totality, if you saw, there were a lot of news from different parts of the world that how the pollution had cleared, how you could see even the Himalayas from India, from places that you couldn't see earlier. There were a lot of positive news at that time, but we take those extreme steps of kind of limiting ourselves only when we actually start dying on the roads. We don't take those steps just because we are like, oh, the El Nino is very strong this time, or there is an Ebola virus somewhere in Congo. We don't take all those steps then. We take it only when it really really rattles us. And with the El Nino, the La Nina, the climate change, the global warming, we just take it very casually. We're like, yeah, yeah, it's there, but it's not killing us yet. Microplastics similar, like, oh yeah, it's there, it's probably there in our bodies, everybody's bodies, but it's okay, it's not killing us yet, so let's not take any rash steps. That's where it comes from. Like, we don't want to do anything till it's too late.
Yeah, if that's the attitude, then I think it will be too late before we can do anything. It will be too late in
But
that
that is how
sense.
we are, right? That is how humans are built. Like, we
Mm.
we don't want to lose our convenience and our comfort in our life. Still, we actually need to, and this will come at a price. Like, not to us, but do you ever imagine? Like, even yesterday night, I was like, we already live in a world that's dying. That's literally dying. Like, I mean, we see all these horrible news. Like, probably one positive news out of the 20 news that we accumulate every week. But what about the future generation? Like a lot of my friends have kids, and obviously everyone's still having kids. What are those kids going to do? Like, what kind of world are they going to grow up in?
Hmm. I think when you brought up the death comparison, the thing that came to my mind is sort of one of our close, maybe a relative, in a vegetative state. We try, and then when time comes, we just say, okay, just let them die. I think we'll do the same to our Earth. We some a group of people are trying. um, we are not making any impact directly, maybe, but indirectly we are trying, uh, through these podcasts and things like that. We are trying to raise that awareness. But as a mankind, what we'll do is we'll say, okay, we have tried, and now we'll just let our mother die. I don't know. That seems. We will try to put her into the ventilator for a certain period of time and see if we can save her, and if she bounces back. But at the end of the day, we'll just say we do it with our close relatives and even our like closest of relatives as well, regularly. So I think that's what we'll do with our Earth. You know.
Yeah, but what is, or how is the future generation supposed to um I don't know, tackle? I mean, I feel like obviously we were in a generation where things changed really quickly in terms of technology and accessibility and a lot of other things. But the newer generation is actually going to face the biggest problems because they have to fight for jobs with AI. They have to fight for water and other resources again with AI. They have to face a heating world, and they have to face a dying world. I mean, how is it? I mean, I don't know. I really don't know how the future generation, like 20 to 30 years later, how they're going to survive. Like, I in some ways I feel like, okay, like we're in our 30s, and um we don't have to see this world for more than probably another 30, 40 years, but they are just starting off, so I really don't
Mm.
know.
Yeah, it's a concern. It's a real concern, and I think the quote here is that, we have not inherited this earth from our ancestors. We are taking a loan from our, future generations. So I think,
Yeah, but
that mentality needs to spread across.
Yeah, but I think at this point of time, we don't really care about the future generation. We just care about bringing them into this world. And when it's their time, even they would not care about their future generation. They would care about themselves. And that's how the cycle of humanity kind of
I
rolls
think
on.
bringing them part is like, I would say it's almost non-voluntary. Like you don't have any control over it. Very little control over it.
You do have
Um,
control over it. I mean, so
I
many
mean,
countries are suffering because of the what do you say? You were the one who said that South Korea is not below the replacement level, right? Like I think South Korea has a point 0.7 birth rate or something.
hmm,
So
it is below the replace. Like nothing they
way
can
below.
do will ever bring them back.
Yes, so it is voluntary, right? In Japan also, I think in Italy, in some other places where they have aging populations, the younger generation is taking the control over uh, bringing a newer generation or not. There are some countries where it's still spreading, like Africa I think has a very healthy population rate, but that is also because there is very little literacy and very little education and very little family planning and birth control that goes on in that those countries, which is why there is an upsurge in population. But in general, it is it is something that you can voluntarily think. Like for me, I feel like it is more selfish to bring a human into this kind of a planet than actually not bring a human into this kind of a planet.
Yeah, I think that's while that's true. The reason I say it's involuntary is that certain bodily functions and things like that sort of force you to override your logical thought at times. And also, there's the peer pressure and some societal pressures as well. But regardless whether it is voluntary or involuntary, or whether we are doing it is going to be a dire world and a bleak world for all our future generations. And the current politicians, even the newer generation of politicians, the younger people, um, are not very concerned about these issues. They are concerned about uh, things like wealth and inequality and rising
Yeah,
prices and home prices and all these things, which are all human interest things. But I have not seen any prominent politician talking about any politician that has got a chance at winning in the elections talk about anything remotely related to uh, climate change.
yeah, I don't know if that's going to change and if it will, but probably we could go to the next story, which is not as bleak because we've talked about a lot of bleak stories so far.
Yeah.
Um, this is a story from South Africa. A village has learned to live with baboons, but it may be the exception. A baboon troop regularly forages in Rooyels, a village on the outskirts of Cape Town, prompting a unique approach to human wildlife coexistence. Unlike neighboring communities that use paintball guns and trumpets to deter baboons, Rooyels residents largely oppose such harassment or monitoring. Instead, this affluent village, part of the Kogelberg Biosphere Reserve, has implemented community guidelines to reduce conflict. These include meticulously securing waste, baboon proofing homes, and educating residents on how to respond during encounters. While the nearby mountain provides safety from predators, it lacks adequate food and water. The village's dense fynbos, gardens, and the Ruyels River offer essential year round sustenance, drawing the baboons and necessitating the residents' proactive, non confrontational strategies. Um, and I think this brings us to our question, which says that is Ruel's coexistence with baboons a model for human wildlife harmony? Um, Yes and no would be my answer, in
Mm,
the sense that there are places where communities come together, like Ruyals, where the people are willing to actually coexist with the baboons, that understand that the forest does not have food and water, so the baboons need to come to the area, and they are part of the biosphere reserve, which means that that it is part of the area where the baboons will come. But at the same time, not every community is like that, because neighboring communities undeterring the baboons and probably scaring the baboons and harassing the baboons. It would be great, it would be idealistic, it would be amazing if that can happen, where this kind of coexistence can take part everywhere, where human wildlife come into conflict. But is it actually possible to do that as a model across the earth? I'm not sure.
The other thing that I want to mention here is that this is an affluent neighborhood. That is sort of the key key thing that I took away here, because if you are, you know, living, in a relatively non-affluent neighborhood, and you are fighting for your own food and survival, then I think baboon proofing your home becomes much more difficult. And I think this article, I get the feeling that it is sort of, I don't know, I don't want to use the word, but it's sort of a um sell blowing your own trumpet kind of article, where it's like, because these people have their life sorted, um possibly because, these are primarily communities which are infused with a lot of money. That's why they are just saying, taking this high moral ground and saying that, we are doing this,
No,
and let's.
but the point is, oops, that these baboons do historically stay there anyway. Like, I mean, there are the baboons would naturally live there in the low lying areas. Because they have their food and water sources there, they do go to the high areas because it saves them from the predators. But this is all their land, and for people to understand that even if they're affluent or not, and share their habitat is a big deal. Like, and are you saying that like neighboring communities would not be as affluent, they would suddenly become like really really poor? I don't think so. Like, neighboring communities are also part of that biosphere reserve. And if this area could step up to actually accept that, this is where the baboons have to come for their food and water, why can't the other areas accept the same thing?
So the reason I say this is because this is South Africa. This is a colonized nation, and there's a huge racial disparity in South Africa. So there are communities where, there's a one part of that community which is very affluent, and the other part nearby which is very very, downstricken. And this is a very commonplace thing in South Africa. South Africa, again, is a country which is very unique in the African continent, because there is such a racial diversity, racial disparity there. So that's why I think this is kind of a, sort of taking the moral high ground kind of an article.
No, it's
um,
not. I mean, if you see this part, like they say that there's a person called Lundi who is one of the people who teaches other people. He says that he very calmly explained to a worker who was throwing rocks at the baboons. He said, "You don't have to throw rocks at them. They aren't dangerous. They won't harm you." So the man protested, saying that, "But they stole my colleague's lunch the other day." So Lundi replied, keep it in the truck." But they're like, "But they opened the door, then locked the door." "But the doors can't lock, and our boss told us that if they break the mirrors or the windows, we have to pay." Then Lundi explained calmly to the man that the troops come into the village in the mornings to forage, so the men only need to guard their vehicles' doors for a few minutes while the animals pass through. Then they would be fine. So this is the thing that the construction workers then realized, that the troop was not a threat, and it only came for a few minutes in the morning, so they had to just guard their vehicles for those few minutes. And this construction worker, once he realized that, he swapped his rocks for his phone and began filming the primates instead of throwing anything at them. So this is a very easy education process that they're showing in the village. It's not like they're not affected by the foraging as the other villages are. It's not a high ground. It is a very simple process where they're showing the people that there is a routine that the baboons follow. There's a time where the baboons come in. If for the few minutes they can actually go inside or lock things, and the baboons come and forage whatever is outside and go back, there is existence possible. Like that coexistence is possible.
no, I'm not saying it's not possible, and I would have, There are examples across like Africa, India, other parts of Asia, and other parts of the world, like South America and all other parts of the world, where communities have taken such a method, and even like not the affluent communities, especially it's the um, it's the more non-affluent communities that actually take up the and non-affluent and rural communities that take up the burden of doing this thing. But I kind of am suspicious just because this is coming from South Africa and it mentions baboon proofing your home and things like that. Um, I am a little bit suspicious about the motives, but at the same time, I think what you just said, like education part, I completely agree with. The education needs to be there. I think that is a common thing that even herpetologists do in terms of how to avoid snakes or how to save yourself from snakes and things like that as well. Especially I know in India as well. And I think also coexistence starts with education right from the school level. So, and we have covered pretty, a lot of stories about those kinds of efforts that are being made. But throwing money at the problem, I think not every community can do. So, education, I completely agree with.
But it's
But
not really throwing money as well. There's not a lot of money being thrown when they say that you're baboon proofing your houses. It just means that you're locking your dustbins well, and you're closing your doors well, or you have very little gaps where the baboons can come into your house, or you have mesh doors or whatever. It's not like a big change, but it is when that the changes that you're making in your houses are something where the baboons don't come into your house. Also, there's a way that you behave with the baboons if you actually interact with them outside. So they have said in the article also that most people who panic against the baboons are ones that newly come into this area, and then they have the negative encounters because they are not sure how to interact with the baboons. But once they understand how the baboons behave, and the baboons also understand how the humans are not threatening them, then both of them go their own way, do their own things, and just go back to where they belong.
No, I think that is a model that can be replicated across the world in terms of human-animal conflict, and I think a lot of these communities are taking up such similar approaches um, to human-animal conflicts. Instead of killing, and we did a story I think from Chitwan where rhinos were being treated the same way. We did multiple stories over the years. We have done it, and I think that's the right way to do it. Mm.
Yeah, there is actually a nice, I think, video and photos in the article. If you could just share, if it's possible.
Yeah, I tried to play the video for some reason. The video is not playing, but I can share the photos with the audience. Yeah, so you can see how close these baboons are. Again, as a foreigner, you might be afraid of the baboons. They might not be commonplace, so you might be afraid of them. But for the locals, I think they're very common sight, like the Hanuman langurs in India, or the macaques in India, um, or sort of the pukekos and things like that, kias or kakas in New Zealand, and things like that. So yeah, juvenile baboon, very very cute. Riding on his mother's back probably. Man, this is the man Lundi that the story was about, and some um, I think baboon proofing the urinals and things like that, and yeah, the coexistence can be seen. Mm.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, obviously, if it is an area where you cannot afford to coexist with them, I understand. But if you can afford to coexist with animals and you're on the periphery of any area where wildlife exists, then you should try to coexist and make space for them. That is the only way we will survive and they will survive. There is no other way.
And there are models, there are examples around the world where even marginal communities are taking matters into their own hands, and coexisting with those animals with ingenious solutions. And I think India is famous for the Indian jugaad kind of ways that we adapt. I think that is a good way to do it as well. um Cool. The next thing we are talking about is bees. So this is a story from Manga Bay again. Stingless bees in Peru become the first insects with legal rights. Will it happen globally? Wow, this again is a very interesting story. Let's go and see what the story entails. In a groundbreaking move, two Peruvian Amazon municipalities, Satipo and Nauta Loreto, have granted legal rights to native stingless bees, making the first time any insect has been recognized as a rights bearing entity globally. These ordinances ensure the bees' right to exist, reproduce, and flourish, empowering indigenous groups and conservationists to litigate on their behalf. Spearheaded by Rosa Vasquez Espinosa and supported by indigenous communities who have long revered these bees culturally and spiritually, this initiative aims to protect um, them from threats like climate change, deforestation, and pesticides. The move builds upon Peru's national recognition of stingless bees as a species of national interest. This legal recognition signifies a paradigm shift in human nature relations, acknowledging the bee's crucial role in pollinating 80% of tropical flora and preserving ecosystems. Now, two things I just want to mention, like related to this article. One is that we have done a lot of stories from South America where, um, you know, a lot of the indigenous communities are taking matters into their own hands, which is great. I think that is the way it should be done. It should not be dictated by the the man or the boss or whatever, the government. That is great to see that they are taking their rights and their existence into their own hands. And the other part is, I think I do agree with the preserving ecosystem part, whatever way it takes. I know it will sound ridiculous to some people. What are bees doing with their rights and things like that. But I think if that is a legal mechanism that needs to be taken in order to save these bees, then so be it.
Yeah, and the fact that one, obviously the communities that have Oops said, they're making like leaps and strides in protecting the environment. But secondly, the thing is, and it's something that happens in India as well. Like spiritually and culturally, if you are really associated with an animal, you would want to protect it. So even in India, even in South America, and some parts of Africa, some animals are looked at as gods, or something that protects their community. So in those cases, humans actually go ahead and save these animals. And this has actually gotten lost with the bigger religions coming in and kind of blanketing it. So there was a study which said that once Christianity had come into some South American and some African areas, because the Bible did not teach to actually save and protect animals, but taught that that animals were there for our need. A lot of things changed about how people reacted or how the community reacted to its animals. So this cultural and significant, and cultural and spiritual significance that some communities still have, that is actually, I think, very important to bond with nature.
True, true. Um, but yeah. And the other thing I want to sort of highlight here, we have discussed this numerous times, but I would just repeat myself, that pollination is a crucial process for the food that is put on our table. Without pollination, nothing would exist on our tables, and pollination cannot be done by humans or robots. Bees are the main things that do it, along with birds, insects, and some other species as well. But pollination, like pollination, is the backbone of our um, food chain, of the human supply chain and food chain that we have built. So the gravity of this, uh, often fail to appreciate the gravity of that statement. But yeah, since it came up here, pollination, I just wanted to sort of highlight that again.
Yeah. And this is why they say that if bees disappear, we would disappear as well. And which is
Hmm.
why it is very, very important that we save the bees. But in this article, it specifically says that they are saving these stingless bees in Peru. But even if they're stingless or they have sting, bees are really, really important for the environment because they are the biggest pollinator that is there. And if
Hmm.
there is no pollination, we don't have any fruits and vegetables. And if we don't have any fruits and vegetables, or we don't have any flowers, the entire earth is probably going to perish.
Correct. Cool. Very, very cool story. But I think we can move on to the next one.
Yeah, and I hope that other places would also give insects and other animals legal rights. And probably that is the way we would move ahead in kind of fostering that coexistence and saving our planet. So, talking about saving our planet, thinking how traffickers think. Study uses AI to detect marine wildlife smuggling. Researchers have developed the first AI algorithm specifically designed to identify trafficked dead marine wildlife from 3D X ray images. This innovative system shows promise in detecting species with distinctive shapes, like shark fins and seahorses, and achieved 86% accuracy for sea cucumbers. Marine wildlife trafficking is a significant but often overlooked issue, with Interpol seizing more marine specimens than other animal groups. The illicit trade, driven by demand for ornamental fish, luxury foods, and traditional medicines, largely goes undetected, often routed through air cargo. The AI algorithm, trained on various marine samples, offers a potential solution to augment current detection methods, which rely heavily on human inspection and biosecurity dogs. While not a complete solution, the AI serves as a valuable assistant tool to combat this growing global problem. Um, and I think Oops and me have done a lot of stories on AI, and we've talked about how AI is not great for your everyday usage, like clean up my email or generate this image. But if AI is used for the good, like the greater good, then it is something that it's worth protecting. And in this case, AI is again being used for something that is great, like because wildlife smuggling is a big problem, and marine wildlife smuggling on top is a bigger problem. So if AI can be that assistant that can detect, so that the biosecurity officers can then go through the baggage, or the dogs can then sniff through the baggage, that would be amazing, and that might actually deter these smugglers from trying to smuggle these illicit goods.
There's a cool image in this article which shows how this shark fin is being detected in the X-ray. The seahorses are being detected, and the sea cucumbers are being detected. I think in this scenario, false positives are not a huge deal. It's even if it's a false positive, I think these kinds of systems can be implemented. The worst that can happen is, if it's a false positive on your material, there will be a search and you'll be delayed by a few minutes or so. um, maybe half an hour or so at the most. So yeah, I think very good use of AI, and these kinds of AIs, I think the kind of AI, and I have always advocated that this kind of large language model, which sort of drinks all our water and sucks all our energy and things like that, is not really required. And I think the kind of AI models that will be with us going forward are like local AI models. So this AI model, obviously, because of security reasons, cannot run on a server that is hosted somewhere else. This would run on the local airport network or the airport local machines and the X-ray machines and things like that. So these kinds of AIs which are very purpose driven AIs and very purpose specific purpose models, especially built model. These are the kinds of AIs that is the most useful. This AI is only good at detecting these kinds of exotic things and nothing else, and that is by design, and that is a good thing. uh, it does not need to write a poem or generate an image for it to be able to uh, detect these smuggled goods, and that is the way I think AI is most useful here. And yeah, great story overall as well.
Yep. It is a great story. We are hoping to see more such better uses of AI than the kind of uses that it is going through. And hopefully,
Mm.
if we limit the use of AI only to things that would actually benefit humanity in the bigger scale, like benefit humanity and wildlife, then we might be able to reduce the amount of data centers and the amount of water it uses and actually be able to justify the usage of AI. Right now, we're not able to honestly justify it.
Mm. I think yeah, I'll just share some more images here. Some dried seahorses, if someone cares to buy them, is on sale in some of the New York City, some of the Asian supermarkets. $5 a piece, or $58 a piece, or $18 a piece. Depending on the size, I think, and the shape. You know Similar, some plastic bags, underneath some plastic bags, sea cucumbers are hidden. Again, this is someplace in the US as well. So there is a fascination with these kinds of you know eating these kinds of things. Some dried
And
shark fins.
it's always the Asian community that is more interested in eating these exotic species. I understand that it might be part of your diet or you want to eat and you don't have any restriction on what kind of food you can eat. But you also have to see the kind of environmental impact it has. Like, I mean, shark fins and seahorses and other kind of things. Please see how it affects the ocean. There are
Hmm.
certain animals that I'm not happy about that either. How we have allocated some animals for eating and some animals as pets. That is a different debate. But overall, just just kind of rein in your exotic fetishes, I guess.
Or or like devise a way to farm them, if that
Yes,
is such an
probably that.
important part of the diet.
Yes, exactly. Like, don't go plundering the ocean just because you have a tongue that has a taste for everything that moves.
Yeah, I think I have always maintained that this wouldn't be really a problem if if the human population was 1 billion instead
Yeah.
of the 8 billion we have today. This wouldn't have been a problem, because this sort of predator prey relationship and things like that is very commonplace in nature, and we are the predator in this case. So it wouldn't have been a problem. There would have been a balance. But since we are so many of us, 8 billion of us, this is a problem. And that is why I think allocating some species that we farm intensively is a good thing, um, in that
Yeah.
sense. So
I
yeah,
think
devise a way
I
to
think
farm these.
if we were lesser people, we wouldn't really be plundering the nature as well as we do
Yeah,
now. The
yeah,
way the
correct,
abuse and mistreatment of animals goes in, the way
correct.
we kind of just
Like, we would
heavily.
not need to do that, because there would be enough to go around for everyone.
Yeah, and similarly with agriculture, the kind of GMO that that is being pushed onto us, like GMO crops and pesticides and other kind of things, all of that would have reduced. We would have probably been more happy doing our permaculture and organic farming, and the animals would have lived happier, and there would have been a different way that we would have lived. But the kind of pressure with 8 billion people is massive, and they're saying that our population is still going to increase till I think 2050 before it starts to dip. So
Mm.
yeah, we need to be really careful of what we want, how we want, and we need to be careful. Yeah.
But great use of AI. I am definitely supportive of this kind of usage, and we have done some more stories on and this kind of usage as well. If you go back a few episodes, you'll be able to hear them with like elephant crossings detecting AI, with all sorts of AI which sort of detects certain shapes and images and sounds to determine, um,
Yeah.
yeah, determine the particular species and threat levels and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. There is another story from National Geographic, which is about black bears. Again, I love stories from National Geographic, um, just to get to see the images that are there. Although this particular one does not have too many. But this is a story from National Geographic, which is headlined Why You May See More Black Bears This Summer. Summer marks a significant increase in black bear activity across the US. After months of hibernation, bears emerge with severely depleted energy reserves, leading to intense hunger. Wildlife Program Manager Carrie Kingery explains they spend until mid July recovering their base weight. This caloric deficit drives them to seek out readily available human food sources like bird feeders, garbage cans, and pet food left outdoors. Beyond hungers, mating season is another major factor, particularly for males who traverse great distances searching for females. Black bears are the most common bear species in the United States, with over 300,000 or 3 lakh individuals ranging from the Arctic Circle to the central Mexico, inhabiting forests, scrublands, and swamps. Very diverse landscapes. Their widespread presence and increased seasonal activity contribute to the rise in public sightings and potential encounters. Understanding these behaviors is key to safe coexistence with these adaptable animals and their busiest season. Again, similar story to the baboon story, but obviously these are much more dangerous and life threatening than a mere baboon. So, education here, I think, also plays a crucial part of this whole ordeal.
Definitely. I mean, with any animal, no animal tries to attack you or, want to attack you until and unless it feels threatened or there is some other, reason that it wants to attack. So there is a way to actually be in coexistence. There are people I follow on Instagram who are bear guides and are in really close proximity with the bears, and the bears don't attack them. So so there is a coexistence that is possible, but again, it would come with education, it would come with lesser fear, it would come with a lot of other things.
Mm.
So yeah.
There is one animal which wants to hurt us, which is polar bears, because we are part of their diet. Other
Yeah, but
animals that can be said about other animals.
I mean, polar bears are literally dying, and we are not
I mean,
really in
again,
their vicinity.
if any one of us comes in close proximity with a polar bear, even if you're photographing it, be very wary of it, of polar bears. Other animals, they're not out for our blood. So just making a caveat there. Yes, polar bears are dying. Polar bears are not very abundant, but you know,
And
just putting
it's
it out
also a
there
little
also.
sad with the black bears that because they're so calorific, their caloric deficit at the time, they
Mm,
would even go for bird feeders and garbage cans and pet
mm,
food. So these are things that, again, with the baboon story, if these can be locked in properly, then the bears would actually go where they can actually find food instead of coming to people's houses and raiding them. They would know that there is no food that can be found there, and they would probably go inside the forest where there is more food that they can forage.
mm. I think especially in affluent nations like the United States, the municipalities and the local governments are able to do something about, bear proofing maybe certain aspects of society, of the public infrastructure, bear proofing certain aspects of them. Although these bears are very intelligent and very powerful, so it would take a lot. Baboon proofing is relatively easier than bear proofing because these are like giant animals, and very strong and powerful and resourceful, very intelligent animals. They can get into all sorts of crevices and all sorts of break all sorts of
True.
locks.
True, but
Mm.
I think if you actually are able to bear proof like baboon proof, then the bears would know that these are not places that they can come to, because right now they know that they can enter communities and they would find food. But if the communities are educated enough to lock their garbage cans, not keep any pet food outside, not have any bird feeders. In the baboon story also they said don't keep any bird feeders. If all of these can be removed, then the bears would understand that there is nothing to go to those spaces to actually get.
Yeah, I think two caveats here I would put just there is like non-lethal methods, like not like shocking them or things like that. Although that mild shocks can be a good deterrent, but not like lethal shocks or anything like that. And also, I think again, it's worth mentioning that this is only for that particular period of the year where the bears are at their hungriest, because all bears will go through this amazing process that is hibernation. I sometimes wish humans had something similar, but yeah. Um,
I mean we can just hibernate forever then.
yeah. We can like through medical and technological assistance we can slow our process down to like, because these bears slow
Oh, but
their ha-
people do that to actually increase their lifespan, look younger, and all of that. All those cryotherapy and all. Have you heard
yeah,
of
yeah,
those?
yeah.
Like where people sleep in this, I don't know, dipped in this
But
liquid
it's
or
amazing
something.
that these bears can slow down their heart rate to like 1 beat per minute and just survive in a half dead state for like the 2 3 months whatever.
But that's not just the bears. There's also the alligators and crocodiles that have their little snout up through the ice, and
Mhm.
then they really slow down their their heartbeat and the blood circulation, and then
But
once
like
the
the crocodiles are reptiles, they're cold-blooded animals. It's far easier for them to do it than a bear which
I
is
mean, it's just
warm-blooded.
tough. They're in the middle of the ice and they have to just keep stuck like that, for months. It's not easy just because they're cold blooded. It's not.
It's easier than a warm-blooded animal, that is what I'm saying.
Probably, but at least bears have dens that they can sleep inside. The crocodiles just have to sleep in the open waters with the ice all forming around them.
Yeah, so be wary of bears. Do not try to fight with them. I don't know. There will be
Or
some
approach them just because they
stupid
look
people
like
out there.
teddy
Yeah,
bears.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep your distance and respect that those things. And I think for the local communities and the local governments, I would say anything that can be done to bear proof any public infrastructure and certain aspects of the whatever
And
the local
community and
and
community
community.
engagement and
Yeah,
education. Yeah.
community engagement and education. Yeah, that's bigger than I think other things, and very easily achieved as well.
Yep.
um yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what's the
Going
next one?
on to going on to the next topic, it's going to be a short story. It says community-led initiatives safeguard marble cats in Northeast India. Local communities in Northeast India are leading conservation efforts for the marbled cat, one of Asia's least studied small wild cat species. While widely distributed, its population and movement patterns are poorly understood, often only studied broadly via camera traps. Research by the Eastern Himalayas Marble Cat Project (EHMCP) confirms its presence in Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, and Meghalaya, revealing most habitats lie outside protected areas. This underscores the necessity of community involvement, as locals frequently interact with the species but lack awareness. EHMCP founder Girdhar Malla stresses that visibility is crucial for effective conservation. Consequently, the communities are now initiating protective measures. For example, the Lokpeng Welfare Society in Arunachal Pradesh declared their community a conservation area, highlighting a powerful bottom up approach to safeguard this elusive feline. And I think how Oops has talked about earlier, in South America, in India, in some places, it's great when the community comes together and does a bottom-up approach, because in certain cases the government, it takes a long time for policy to form, for the government to actually do a top-down approach from where they send scientists and other kind of, what do you say, forest rangers and everything. It takes time to actually build that policy, so it's great when community comes together to actually save a species. So this is one of those heartwarming stories, just like the baboons, where the community wants to band together to save an animal.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. And I think we have talked about small cats and how they are sort of more uh, threatened compared to the other big cats. And I'll just share a photograph of the marble cat. Very, very cute looking, and yeah, very,
Beautiful looking.
very beautiful looking. The patterns especially, but it's a
Yeah.
small cat, so it faces all those threats. And we have done a full episode on with a small cat expert. Go check that out. We'll provide some links, and probably we'll do some shots about that as well. But yeah, so this is one of those small cats, so it faces all the threats and pressures that a typical small cat faces in the Indian subcontinent. But as we said, like, community engagement and the community taking matters into their own hands is always a welcome thing. It should not come to that. Like, it is sad that it has to come to that to for this sort of conservation efforts, and the government is not able to do enough in those instances. But in any case, it is a welcome change and welcome approach. And South American communities are doing that across the world. I think a lot of communities do that, especially worthy to mention the South American indigenous communities and the Indian subcontinent, the indigenous and the rural communities of there as well. Mm.
Yep. And actually, if you see the patterns on this cat, it actually is a mix of kind of a leopard and a clouded leopard, kind of.
Mm.
You know, it's
Mm.
really pretty. And how Upsa said, like, obviously the smaller cats are animals that we do not really focus on. We do not protect them just like the big cats. They do not get the same amount of funding. But it is great to see that communities are now aware of what these cats hold, and what kind of importance they hold. They can also, once the community led initiatives are put into place, and these cats are protected, they can actually run programs where they have tourism for photographing these cats, because a lot of photographers, like how Oops said, and Oops is also interested in photographing these animals. Like, it would be great to foster that community led initiatives, because people would want to come and photograph these cats, and that would lead to more protection.
Mm. Yeah, I think any kind of economic infusion definitely has a precedence of leading to more conservation and better for that species in general. Just looking at this camera trap photograph from the article, this is done. I think the camera trapping is done by the Eastern Himalayas Marble Cat Project. And looking at this cat, I think also look at the tail, how long that tail is and how thick that tail is. So it is very evident that this cat sort of climbs on trees, and the tail it uses to balance out its overall weight and things like that. And the patterns, you can clearly see why it is called a marbled cat, because all the marbling that is going on in terms of the stripes and patterns. Again, I
Yep.
think Kothon, who was our expert, a small cats expert, who we talked to it, I think spoke about certain fingerprints of a cat, which is like the stripes is unique to every cat. Now, Asiatic wildcat, which we primarily focused on in that episode, does not have any striping, but this cat does. So I believe it would be easy to identify individuals in this way as well, in terms of a census, because it has certain stripes and spots. So this would be very unique to each and every cat. Mm.
Yep. And also the fact that it's amazing when the hunters become protectors. We've seen a lot of stories over a lot of our episodes where it has happened, the change of heart has happened, and through education, community initiative, engagement, and different ways of actually spreading the message. So it's actually amazing because Arunachal, Nagaland, and all these areas in the northeast are places where bushmeat hunting still happens, but that is reducing, and all these places have become like no hunting villages, or there is a proper prohibition of hunting in these villages, and the communities are coming together to actually save these species. So it's really heartwarming to know that those changes are happening. So some places, there are positive changes overall. Obviously the earth is burning, but hopefully these small changes also go a long way in our survival.
Yeah, it's great to see some other images from the full article, where you can see sort of the lockping, sort of the wall art and things like that. This is again part of that education perspective that Meghna has spoken about. I think the other cat here is the Asiatic golden cat, which is also threatened. So these kinds of wall art and educational initiatives is very important. And look at this. I think India is a pioneer in this sort of community led education programs is and it's a very fertile ground because people are willing to listen if given the chance. Look at this, like a mother carrying a child on her back is also attending this kind of a serious discussion and sort of a meeting with all her responsibilities and things like that. So there is interest in amongst people. It just takes the right kind of attitude towards wildlife, and these kind of educational initiatives and programs is very important. And I think at the end of the day, we are all humans. We are all rational beings. So, um, you know, if given a chance, if given an alternative to our, to get food on our table and earn our living, it's it's not you know it's not foreign that we would accept the alternative solutions in this case. So again, an Asiatic golden cat in Arunachal Pradesh as well. Again, a camera trap photo of a marble cat. Very elusive species from the looks of it because it just stays in the undergrowth and things like that. And yeah, so this is sort of the community and their initiative. Great to see these photographs as well. Mm.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you want to do another short story, or do you want to wrap up the episode?
We can do another maybe a short story and then start wrapping up um, episode.
Do you want to
Um,
do the spaghetti one?
spaghetti. Let's see. Yeah, yeah. Um, again, this is a story from Mongabe, which says how a popular spaghetti dish is threatening Italy's marine ecosystems. Again, very difficult to make that connection, but let's explore how it is doing what it's doing. In Naples, Italy, rampant sea urchin poaching is decimating local populations, threatening marine ecosystems and livelihoods of legal fishers. Poachers use the illegal hookah system, allowing divers to systematically strip the seabed of thousands of purple sea urchins, a popular tourist delicacy. Maurizio Simone, director of Marine Protected Area Gaiola Underwater Park, actively combats this pervasive issue. He recently observed poachers on live feed and alerted the Coast Guard, leading to an apprehension. These offenders are often repeat offenders, highlighting the persistent challenge. A single 75-minute raid can yield nearly 1,000 sea urchins, specifically impacting the ecosystem where fish like bream rely on urchins for food. When urchin colonies are destroyed, commercial fish disperse, further jeopardizing the legal fishing industry. Authorities continue to battle this destructive illegal trade. Aren't there places where like
Exactly.
deserted? Yeah, I was going to say where sea urchins are like abundant.
Yeah, we actually did a story, you remember, where the bed
Yeah,
was full of purple sea urchins, and they were like, "Oh, it is invasive species," and
yes.
they're trying to kill the
I
sea
think
urchins. And it's
somewhere in the GBR. Yeah.
yeah. I think GBR or somewhere else. But we did this story of literally the purple sea urchin. So I do not understand if it is invasive in one part. Why can't those places just harvest the urchins and send it, export it to these places? And they would actually be like it's a gold mine, like it's an
Yeah,
underlying gold
exactly.
mine, because you don't want the sea urchins. These people want the sea urchins, and anyway, everything is being transported across the world.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you get things from far away. All your products are coming from far away, so why can't you just do this one thing? This
And like
blows
sea
my mind.
urchins, these are like living creatures, but also like very like slow moving creatures. So just put them in a big tanker of water, seawater, and just transport them. I don't know. It should be easy
Yeah, it
in the
should be
modern.
doable. I'm assuming it should be doable, especially if there are areas that are trying to get rid of the sea urchins, and they are calling them, invasive. So if that is an issue for you, and in other areas where the sea urchins are actually needed for the food of these sea species, then why don't you just leave those urchins there? Pick up
Mm,
the urchins where they're not required, and then make a fortune out of it. Like, make a deal. Why do you have to only plunder the areas where those sea urchins are actually important?
yeah, yeah. Just showing some photos. Here is the infamous or the screen grab mentioned in the article where the security cameras actually trapped a boat or sorry, saw a boat in the middle of the night, like almost 1 a.m. in the morning, and yeah, then the Gaiola MPA, the authorities apprehended them later on that night. But yeah, it shouldn't be this difficult again, as Meghna said, to transport them. So yeah, let's just do
Are there
that. And
any photos of the sea urchins?
yeah, there are some photos of the people confiscating the sea urchins. These are the sea urchins here, again inside a bag. The purple color is very evident. It is actually delicious, if I might say so, in certain kinds of pastas and things like that. And this is in its natural habitat. Yeah, yeah, this can decimate a seafloor if it's not paired with the predators and the proper ecosystem. So that is what is happening in GBR, where it's just so grazing the seafloor and like getting rid of everything.
But that
So
is with a lot of species that we accidentally or non-accidentally, voluntarily introduce. The introductions all happen because we bring different species to places. It's not really the species fault, but it's our introduction fault. And then it's the
mm,
species that we blame. We don't blame ourselves. But there is a solution to it. It's just right in front of your eyes, and people need to actually implement that. Then when there is a win-win situation, why do you want to lose situation?
yeah, true, absolutely true. Yeah.
I think I have one update on the Trump's ocean observatory project.
Oh yes.
Uh, Let us do that, and then we can kind of bring the episode to a close. Lawmakers fight to stop the Trump administration's dismantling of a $386 million ocean observatory project. And this is something that we covered last time as a main
Mm,
story. So we're just doing the little update on it. Lawmakers are urging the National Science Foundation (NSF) to halt the dismantling of the 386 million Ocean Observatories Initiative (OOI), a critical ocean monitoring network. House Democrats argue the shutdown directed by the Trump administration is illegal, with Senator Jeff Merkley proposing legislation to freeze instrument removal pending a scientific review. The NSF plans to remove most OOI instruments by 2027 from key locations, including off the coasts of Oregon, Washington, Alaska, North Carolina, and Greenland. So its opposition arises as instrumental removal is set to commence in the Pacific and as an El Nino event is anticipated this summer, highlighting the immediate need for the data the OOI provides for understanding climate change and oceanographic phenomena. So the update obviously is that there is still a lot of fighting. There's still a lot of opposition. There's still this proposing of legislations to freeze these instrumental removals, but the Trump administration is still going ahead with dismantling these observatories. So we have to wait and see if the opposition is strong enough to override Trump's administration.
Yeah, and like if we look at these instruments, these are not like um, small operations. These are huge operations. This is the image from the original article published in Associated Press, and these are huge operations. Huge ships are required and huge instruments. So collecting all sorts of data. So my point there is that it would take a lot of money to remove them as it is to deploy them. So if their things are already deployed, why do you want to go in and sort of undeploy those things? um
Yeah, especially when there is already so much money that has gone into it. Like, I mean, a
yeah,
$386 million
correct.
observatory was installed, and that installation is, it's processing the data that is required to understand climate change and other phenomena. And that is just there, and the observatory is there. There are people who are analyzing the data. What is the problem with actually taking it off? Unless you need that area to build something else, I don't see the point of bringing down something that is scientifically needed at this hour.
100%, 100%. Like in a, in a world with common sense, this would make a lot of sense. Like, do not go about spending more money on projects which has already spent a lot of money and is giving us valuable data. But yeah, we unfortunately live in a world without common sense. So this is the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, sadly, I mean, that is what we were talking about. That we see a lot of sad stories and a few good stories. We're glad that we were able to discuss a few positive stories as well in this episode. But obviously our headline topic itself is bleak with the black box story, the story
Hmm.
that I couldn't be part of it, because my laptop was literally a black box. It was black and was not functioning. But yeah, I think with our updates and our stories, we are kind of coming to a close. My question would actually be about the headline topic. What do you think about the black box? Do you actually think it's signaling the end? How do you feel about the earth dying with the El Nino news, with the Ebola news, with everything that's actually happening? Do you kind of focus only on the positive stories, like little stories of community engagement and education, and kind of make your way through life with that? Or do you also kind of always be in the loop of how can I do something else to save this earth? Like, what do you think about the earth's black box story? Did it startle you as much as it startled us?
Yeah, and do let us know your perspectives as well. We try to present one perspective, but there are multiple perspectives out there. So share with us what your perspective is, if you agree or disagree with us. But anyway, do make sure that you subscribe to our channel and turn on all the notifications uh, in order to receive all the latest updates that we provide. Um, you can follow us on any of the major social media networks. We go live at all places all at once, so you'll be able to catch us live wherever you follow us. If you are listening to a recorded version of this episode, do urge you to leave a rating. It just helps with spreading the word even more, and share this episode with someone you like or someone you dislike, and just to give them a different perspective. And other than that, that's it for today, and we'll see you next Sunday. Same time, same channel. Have a good one, guys.
Bye bye.